This podcast is for financial professional use only and is not intended for use with the public. Material is for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, or investment advice. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Ash Brokerage. Welcome to Accumulation to Activation, the podcast that breathes life into your retirement planning strategies. If you're an advisor aiming to elevate your practice, deepen client relationships, and stay ahead of retirement income trends, we'll help you capture the opportunities on your doorstep and increase your impact. Each episode, we'll unpack the forces reshaping our industry, from the $44 trillion generational wealth transfer and the evolution of income planning to behavioral shifts, legislative updates, and breakthrough solutions that redefine financial security. Here are your hosts, Mike McGlothlin and Tim Ash.
Welcome back, everyone, to Accumulation to Activation, where we talk about all things going from employment to enjoyment. And today we're going to be talking about something similar in terms of going from one generation to the next generation. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do in the financial services, is to retain those assets from one generation to the next generation. And one of the best ways that you can protect your book of business and grow your business is to engage that next generation. And Tim, I know that you've done a lot of work with generational planning, business planning, life insurance planning. Kind of set the stage for the audience here about generational type of planning.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Again, thank you for teeing this up, and thank you to our advisors for tuning in and using these sessions to help educate and enhance and grow your business. Please use our retirement income consultants with any of the content that you listen to on these podcasts, and we'll be happy to engage our team, our advanced market resources to help you when you raise your hand. Say, I need help. I want to lean into this topic or these topics, and we're glad to do it. Doesn't matter if it's income, taxation, generational planning, tools, technology. We're equipped to help be on your team, just not on your payroll.
That's it.
So,
I love
multi-generate.
that.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. This is terrible to do on a podcast, but I'm going to go. Multi-generational is to me one of the best ways for you to create value inside of your financial services practice, because when you include the next generation, G2 and G3, you're solidifying the ability to maintain, retain those assets. And we have so many ideas and techniques to involve that next generation. And there are a couple that I like, and sometimes it involves the grandkids. And what I would say is there a way that grandma and grandpa can produce an income plan for themselves while they're living, but also create a lifetime income for college, for a wedding, for other things down the road? And we have so many ways to use joint income planning and the use of life insurance products to make that happen. You'd be surprised. I know my parents, they love talking about the grandkids more than they do kids. Why not take advantage of that and show ways that you can do this type of planning? And to me, that's just another thing that you can have in your financial services business to deepen and further relationships. And you may have a successor in mind in your business that's in their 30s, that's in their 40s, or maybe even in their 50s. Those assets, you don't want them leaving the household or your practice. This is a good way to do it. So multi-generational planning is just a technique and a strategy to do so.
Yeah, great stats out of Vanguard and NAFA that 70% of widows leave their financial planner like within a year. And it's that lack of engagement that you talk about in terms of getting around the business, getting around the entire family and things like that. But talk about one of your favorite strategies. I don't care what it is, but what do you love talking about when you're talking about transferring wealth down to the next generation?
Well, what I like to talk about is how do we do it efficiently, and talk about what's important to the family. And we've talked in a prior episode. There's an advisor that we work with that says, "Don't be an accidental philanthropist." And what he means by that is, be sure that you have intentional ownership, intentional products, and solutions that are going to be certain that your wishes are, if it is to go to your kids and grandkids, that every document you have and ownership structure you have matches up and aligns with that. To me, that's a big part of it, is to say, you know what? How about we do an ownership and beneficiary audit and make sure that you are owning every asset that you have in the most efficient manner. And if not, we're going to help you navigate that dialogue. So that has nothing to do with the sale of a product. It has to do with the location of the assets, how they're titled, and who they're going to go to, when life happens. So that to me, as I think of those things, that's just like blocking and tackling that inspires conversation, that gets clients to open up, and then you can use your genius as a financial advisor to help navigate that alongside of our team to help you.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of good things there. Location is more important than allocation sometimes. And I can remember early on in my career, I was listening to a speaker, and he said, estate planning is not about taxation. Estate planning is about owning the asset the way that you want to own it in the most efficient way possible, enjoying it for as long as you want to, and then making sure that it goes to the right person at the right time in the most efficient manner. And if you can do that in an estate tax friendly and income tax friendly manner, that's just gravy. But the core of it is owning it and distributing it and getting it to the right person at the right time. That's so important. And sometimes we easily lose sight of that because we get hit with estate tax, especially with the extension of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act and everything. So that's a really important reminder, Tim. So I'm glad that you said that. There are a lot of simple things that we can do. Talk about the use of ILETs and I mean, how simple of a way that is to save hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, on transferring from one generation to the other.
Well, the use of an eyelet, we use them a lot more when the exemptions were 600,000 to $1 million. So that'll age me. How far back is it now? Today, for a couple, it's 30 million under the new big beautiful bill. So what I would like to say is, you can use an eyelet, but Mike, what I'd like to do is throw it back to you, because I think you hit on something in a prior episode that was profound. Someone that has a $31 million estate versus someone that just has $1 million qualified plan, they get taxed identically. So if you think you're exempt from taxation at your passing and you have qualified plans, that is going to be a certainty that those conversations with the next generation are not going to go well. Why did you not plan for this event? So the $1 million qualified plan is taxed the same as someone that has a $31 million estate. Would you hit on that? I think our listeners would love to hear that.
I continue to be surprised when I'm out doing continuing education and talking about this subject, the number of people that come up and say, I never even really thought about that, right? Because it's the noise that we hear with the big, beautiful bill, with the exemptions and lack of sunset now, and that we do have $30 million that goes estate tax free, but that is not the same tax table as the federal income tax. And what I always remind people is that typically when you're passing to the next generation, those kids or grandkids are either in or approaching their peak earning years. And so there's a high propensity of this thing hitting the highest tax bracket at 37. And if you live in a high state tax environment, I mean, that's going to be 43 to 45% erosion. So that's, like you said, that's a different conversation when you're 9 months down the road distributing that estate. No, by the way, you've got 55 cents on the dollar instead of 100 cents on the dollar. The question begs up, what could have been done differently? And that's one of the reasons why only $1 of $4 stays with financial planners in between that $1 to $5 million net worth. I mean, that's where that's at high risk, because so much of our economy or savings is built up in defined contribution plans, those types of plans right now. So it's a huge risk. And I just wrote a blog, and Tim, the amount of taxation that's on the qualified books right now, if you stacked $1 end to end, it would go from the Earth to past Saturn right now. And that's just the federal estate taxation. And so huge dollar amounts at play, huge dollar amounts that can be easily mitigated with proper planning, proper disbursement, and the use of insurance. And there's never been a better or easier time to buy insurance from a funding standpoint because of where we are with payout rates right now.
I think the conversation, anytime qualified plans are in the equation of a financial plan, which I've yet to see a client not have qualified assets. I'm sure I'll be surprised one day and someone will be all non-qualified, but I haven't found that client yet. So it's the unicorn. What I would say is, if you're the financial advisor that's sitting down with a client and say, you know what, how about we do a taxation evaluation? Let's just do that. Let's just talk about what you have and what happens when, not if. What happens when? And you said this earlier. Why does the widow change financial advisors? I can tell you why. Because they're not talked to, they're talked over. The best financial advisors educate the person that has potentially the least amount of financial savvy. Now, I work with two great financial firms for different reasons. One does passive, one does active, but they're both masterful at making certain that my wife understands. They're talking to her more than they're talking to me, because they understand I might get the strategy or the technique or the taxation, but they are educating her, because you know why? They don't want to get fired in the event I go first. And the probability of me going first, high. So again, these are intended to like spark ideas. These conversations that we're having are intended to say, you know, what if you just change the narrative, change the dialogue, throw an empowering question to to those families and see what answers you get. That'll give you an understanding of the impact that you're able to have on their lives and also your business model.
Yeah, whether a widow or widower or whatever, people are always looking for a simple answer. Is everything going to be okay, right? And you don't know that unless you've been part of the planning process and you know what's going to happen in the next process here in the next part of your journey post a spousal death. So, one other thing from a multi-generational thing, I love, this is so simple, Tim, and great use of an annuity. for like a grandparent to a grandchild. Uh, Many people think annuities are inflexible. And this is a great way to demonstrate flexibility because you could have a joint annuitant with a grandparent and a grandchild. And that grandparent is going to get their guaranteed income for the rest of their life. You can also put a cost of living increase on there so it jumps up each and every time, each and every year. But then when that grandparent passes away, the grandchild takes over the receipt of those funds. And I have heard where many of our family private offices, they will actually have the grandparent write out notes like at the age of 16, sweet 16, the year that you get married, the year that you have your first child, the year that you graduate from college, about the importance of education and how great it is being a parent and all those types of things. That is where we start talking that we're passing along value and not just passing along wealth. But that is an easy technique that anybody can do. That can be done for multiple people. It doesn't involve gift taxation and stuff like that. I love the simplicity of using tactics like that. So I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I do. One simple statement. Ask your clients this: would you rather pass along memories or money?
Yeah. Great line. Great line. Yep.
And you're going to get an answer either way. Well, I want to pass along memories. Terrific. We can help you with that. And someone's going to answer, you know what? I would like to pass along some money. How do we do that? These are, I think, again, as you, it's so easy to get hung up in the busyness of the schedule, the busyness of the day, to get in the word routine is the word rut, R-U-T. So get out of the rut and change your routine and utilize a partner that can help you enrich that, because the conversations that you're going to have with your clients, they actually just become so much more deep and emotional and connected. And that really, at the end of the day, when the client views you as this valued asset and resource, that's going to be that's going to be the financial services practice that has the highest retention rates for widows, widowers, and generational wealth.
Yeah. When you can understand what's happening in the gut, you're providing value and you're a resource to that entire family. Before we wrap up this segment, I do want to set up a future segment here because you and Matt at Ash Brokerage talk a ton about non-reportable income. And we don't have time to go through a deep qualified reset, but maybe just tee that up so people can tune into our next podcast.
Sure. Well, Matt Perrick, who's one of our partners out in Prescott, Arizona, is a master at creating ideas that can create tax-free income for life, and use products and solutions and techniques and structures that help do that. And it's all black and white. This is not anything gray. This is all hard-coded in the tax code. And we give you a template using simple things like one-pagers that will help you with case studies and ideas so that you go, you know what? I have a family that looks just like that. And people would love to have, I think, a tax-free forever legacy. And we can help show you how to do that, or at least mitigate some of that taxation along the journey, so more goes to where you want it to go versus the unintended consequence of it showing up in a tax return.
Yeah, well, thank you for that summary. I think it's super critical. I know that I was talking with Matt on a conference call, and he's like, "We've got to start thinking about non-reportable income in retirement. Forget about using tax-free and stuff like that. Non-reportable income, and there's so many different ways that we can do that through Roth conversions and stuff like that. We'll probably just dedicate next segment in the next podcast to talking about that more in depth, because I think that the qualified reset, along with guaranteed income, maximizing Social Security, which is a income tax efficient way, along with Roth conversions. There's a lot of different things that we could be sitting down and talking with our clients for the rest of 2026. So, Tim, as always, thank you very much for your expertise, your passion, and your time here on Accumulation to Activation. And again, thank you for listening to this podcast out there. And if you like the content, please like and subscribe, and also share it with maybe one of your partners in the industry as well. So again, thank you for listening. Tim, any other final comments?
None at this time. Just other than thank you. Thank you to the advisors for listening in and liking and sharing.
This episode of Accumulation to Activation was produced by Ash Brokerage. For more on the most pressing and critical issues facing financial advisors today, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a colleague. For more resources, visit us at ashbrokerage.com or reach out to our team at 800-589-3000. Let's start a strategic conversation about how you can be more efficient with your retirement income and legacy planning solutions. Insurance product guarantees are subject to the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurer. Annuities are insurance contracts and may be subject to fees, surrender charges, caps, spreads, participation rates, and tax implications. Withdrawals are taxable and, if taken prior to age 59.5, may be subject to an additional tax. Product availability and features vary by state and carrier. Social Security and tax rules are complex and subject to change. Clients should consult their tax and Social Security advisors. Any modeling or Monte Carlo analysis referenced is based on stated assumptions and are illustrative only. Results vary by client profile, market conditions, and product selection. Past or modeled results are not guarantees of future outcomes.